The number on John's screen crossed $1 million for the first time in his life, and his wife's response was to ask if he'd remembered to move the chicken from the freezer. 30 years. 30 years of saving for this one exact moment, and it arrived indistinguishable from every other Tuesday. That was the whole party. No fireworks, no champagne, no black cards sliding across marble. Just two people in their 50s in a kitchen with laminate countertops, one of them now technically a millionaire, both of them thinking about dinner. My name is Nick, and I've spent way too much time studying the exact moment people cross this line, because almost nobody tells you the truth about what's on the other side of it. So here's the question running underneath this entire video. If John is a millionaire now, why does nothing about his life feel like that word is supposed to feel? Leave a like and let's get into it. Here's the thing about that word. Millionaire, for about 100 years, it was the finish line. It was the yacht, the private island, the guy lighting a cigar with a $100 bill. Your grandparents heard millionaire and pictured a completely different species of human being. And that image is still burned into all of our brains, which is exactly the problem, because the number stopped meaning what the picture means a long, long time ago. Let me show you some math that might ruin the fantasy a little. $1 today does not buy what $1 bought a couple of decades ago. Nobody's shocked by that. But run the actual numbers and it gets uncomfortable fast. $1 million today in 2026 buys roughly what $514,000 bought in the year 2000. Go back to 1980, and today's million has the purchasing power of about $246,000 back then. So when your uncle talks about millionaires like they're royalty, he's remembering a word from a time when $1 million could buy 4 of what it buys now. The word didn't change. The math underneath it quietly did. And the culture already knows this, even if it won't say it out loud. Because here's a number that should stop you cold. When you actually survey Americans and ask them how much money it takes to be considered wealthy, the answer they give is not $1 million. It's $2.3 million. $2.3 million. That's the current going rate on the fantasy, and it's more than double the number John just hit. The finish line your grandparents worshipped is now, according to the people living today, less than half of what it takes to feel rich. John crossed a line that the culture moved decades ago and forgot to tell him about. He won a race, and somebody quietly relocated the trophy. So, what does $1 million actually do for you? Not what does it feel like. What does it functionally, mechanically do? Because this is where people get genuinely surprised. The classic rule of thumb for turning a pile of money into income is something called the 4% rule. You take 4% of your portfolio in the first year of retirement, adjust it for inflation each year after, and historically that gives you a very good chance of not running out of money over a 30-year retirement. 4% of $1 million is $40,000 a year. $40,000. That's the income $1 million produces. That's it. Now, the guy who invented that rule actually revised it recently and said you can probably push it closer to 4.7%, which gets John up to about $47,000 a year. And other researchers looking at today's expensive market think the safe number might be lower, closer to 37,000. But let's just be generous and sit in the middle. John's $1 million, the number he chased for 30 years, throws off something in the neighborhood of a normal, unremarkable American salary. He is a millionaire who, if he stops working, gets to live on roughly what a mid-career manager makes. Nobody puts that on a vision board, and I want you to actually sit in what that feels like, because 40-something thousand a year is a real budget with real edges. It's still checking the total on the screen at the grocery store before you tap the card. It's still deciding the trip to see the grandkids happens once this year instead of twice, because flights got expensive and the math is the math. Being a millionaire in this scenario does not mean the price of things stops mattering. It means you cleared the finish line and discovered the finish line has a mortgage payment. The anxiety doesn't vanish, it just changes shape from will I ever have enough to please, God don't let me lose what I built, and it gets more brutal. Because that income isn't landing in a vacuum. It's landing in a body that is aging. One of the single largest expenses waiting for John and Kara isn't a boat, it's health.